Hello, guys, and welcome to a new episode of the F1 podcast. Uh, Today, we're going to talk about what happened in last weekend for the Australian Grand Prix, and also we're going to preview the Chinese Grand Prix this weekend because obviously it's a completely different weekend. It's a different track from Australia to China.
Yeah.
But let's start with the what happened in Australia first of all last week. As it was a Mercedes 1-2 in qualifying, Mercedes 1-2 in the race. Mercedes pick up 43 points. George Russell starts the season with a win. In the qualifying, it looked like it was straightforward. In the race, it didn't look like it wasn't straightforward at all. Ferrari gave a very good challenge, and once again, both Ferrari drivers, as they showed in testing, had a great race start, with Charles Leclerc climbing up from fourth to first and Lewis Hamilton climbing up from seventh to third. And Ferrari, it was obviously back and forth between Leclerc and Russell. Hamilton was looking good. Ferrari were, I wouldn't say they were going to win the race, but they had the potential to win it. However, some of the strategy mistakes they made cost them the win at the end, once again. And yeah, Ferrari lose the race despite they had a great start. So, Mohammed, what do you think of the race in general that happened in qualifying and the race, and not only from the two teams I mentioned?
Uh, First of all, I have the same opinion as yours regarding the race. Regarding the top two, disappointing for Piastri crashing out on installation. Nothing of his fault. He had a power surge which caused him to crash out. Crash out. He did not expect to have. He did not expect to have that high of a power. He did not expect the power surge. Overall disappointing race. First race, if I'm being honest, these regulations are a little bit meh. As Charles Leclerc said, feels almost like Mario Kart from the how artificial the overtaking is. But overall, it was, I would say, fine. The first like 15 laps were fine. The rest of the race was boring. And that's about it. And I have nothing else.
You talked about Charles Leclerc. First of all, before we move on to Charles Leclerc, what he said, the first thing you touched on, which was obviously Oscar Piastri crashing in the installation lap in his home race. I mean, the Australian driver curse in the Australian Grand Prix strikes again, doesn't it? But I mean, a lot of people say it's a driver error. A lot of people saying it's car error. What do you think? Does it like it's not? Is it a bit like Max Verstappen, where it could be like a car error and it's difficult to keep the car in balance, especially with those drivers, driving these new regulation cars.
It's definitely something. It's definitely something software side. He had that power surge, as I said. Means what do I mean by power surge? Is basically he stepped on the. According to him, he stepped on the throttle. He had the highest amount of power he has ever seen in the entire weekend. So that's what a power surge means. He has he was stepped on the throttle and he had more power than he had the entire weekend and what he expected. That's why he crashed out. It's I think it's definitely software side. As I said, as we've seen in FP1 of China, I know I'm moving on a bit, but McLaren is definitely the issue that they're having right now is definitely software side. But yeah, once they figure out the software issues, as I said, as I told you before we started the podcast, personally, that it's gonna be a Mercedes McLaren dominance. As much as Ferrari do have the better chassis and everything, and they have a better car overall than McLaren, the power unit is so crucial right now, especially with the. Yeah, it's very crucial right now, especially with the power management and the especially with the battery, etc. So once they figure it out, it's all gonna be good. And yeah, that's it. That's my personal opinion on it.
Hmm. Right. Moving on to Mercedes, getting a 1-2. I felt like Mercedes in the race, the two drivers, I don't think they were at their best. If I'm being very honest, they had a very, very difficult start. George Russell climbing, losing their first position to second. Antonelli coming from second to seventh, a bit like Barrichello 2009 in Australia, where he lost from second to seventh. But they came back. Antonelli came back, finished second, and Mercedes, despite they were behind by Ferrari race, they managed to have a better strategy than Ferrari. Even though it's not difficult to have a better strategy than the Ferrari, if I'm being very honest.
Mm.
but but like Mercedes, they were fantastic, like in the qualifying and the race. Like, do you think this Mercedes team has the potential? Listen, I know it's so early in the season, but do you think this Mercedes side has the potential to go on and dominate and show, performances like they did last weekend? Or do
First,
you think it's a long way season? It's going to be a development season. Other teams will come back.
look, if I'm being honest, it's for the first 7 races or the first couple of races, it's gonna be Mercedes, unfortunately. But if McLaren, my only hope is that McLaren get an upgrade package because they have the power, the Mercedes power unit. Like basically, the first couple of races, the first 7 races is gonna be between McLaren and Mercedes, whoever can have the faster development until Monaco, where the PU change happens or the new measurements happen, where Mercedes need to change the power unit. Until then, it's going to be between McLaren and Mercedes and Ferrari. That's if Ferrari I don't fuck up. Other than that, yeah, I think it's gonna be between McLaren and Mercedes, whoever can develop the fastest in the first period of the season, because they both have the Mercedes engine. Ferrari are gonna be there and thereabouts, but yeah, that's my personal opinion.
Mhm.
Like we can see that
Uh,
like if first practice session of FP1, we could see that the Mercedes engine has potential, or McLaren has potential, especially with the Mercedes engine in the back. They were faster than both Ferraris, so yeah.
mhm. um, obviously we talked about Mercedes, we talked about Ferrari. Let's talk about also McLaren, because Andrea Stella. You obviously talked about McLaren, and I want to ask you about McLaren. Um, after the race in Australia, Andrea Stella was, let's say, talking about the power unit of Mercedes, and he was saying that they were giving less information, which I found that strange in my opinion, because yeah, Mercedes, if you are a customer team, yeah, they can give you the engine, and they can give you like what's the engine about it, but I don't think they should like, does Andreas Stella, when he says that, when they say, oh, they give us less information this weekend, does it mean that in the past they gave him more information? Because I found it strange, because a customer team should like, yeah, you could be given the engine, but you should do the rest in your work.
I think
What did you make of Andreas Stella's comments, and do
I
you think that affected McLaren's performance last week?
yes, 100%. That's what I told you. That I told you it was a new spec engine. Basically, what do I mean by that? Basically, you can't expect McLaren to just receive the engine, especially when I heard that McLaren are working with Mercedes on the engine. Actually, that's what I heard. Their new contract has that clause in it where they both gonna work together on the engine. What I see, what I interpreted from what Andreas is saying is that they gave us the engine right away. Like they gave us the engine right away, and they didn't give us any data on the engine. Like you, and that's I get what he means by that. Like it is a kind of interesting that McLaren would that Mercedes would not give data to McLaren. At least you don't need to give them like purely like data regarding the running, how it works, etc. They can give them data on like I don't know how to explain it. Like not very important that I can give them a little bit of data regarding the engine and how to run it, etc. can't just expect the team to put in an engine and experiment with it. It's a little bit broad, and that's why McLaren were quite slow last, like not did not have this exact same pace as as Mercedes. We can see that from the telemetry when it comes to the engine. So I think that's what Andreas telling means from my understanding.
But if I'm being very honest with you, I get where you're coming from, Muhammad. But if I'm being very honest, I'm not surprised because I don't think Total Wolf would allow a customer team to beat them again. There's no chance. There's no chance Total Wolf would allow a customer team
Well,
to beat him again because I guarantee you, Muhammad, when Lando Norris crossed that line in Abu Dhabi last year to win that title, Total Wolf in his head must have been like, no, 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 this is not so right. No, no.
I know. I you know what
I don't think.
you know what I say. I say this. I say fix your fucking car. If you have a problem, fix your fucking car.
Yeah,
If you can't accept that a customer team is faster than you, then that's something that's a you problem. That's not a them problem. It's my personal opinion.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it should be like this, but when when you have a customer team, obviously I'm saying that in Toto's perspective, I don't think he wants a customer team to win another title against him. So that's why maybe there's a bit of this kind of tactic from Mercedes not to help McLaren and other teams as well. Because not only McLaren have faced those issues, also Williams have faced those issues. Alpine, where they looked strong in testing, but they were somehow slow in Australia. So yeah. And what about Red Bull? Because in qualifying, obviously Verstappen had his problems. Hajar had a very good performance, whereas in the race it was the opposite, where Hajar had a car problem, but Verstappen made a very good comeback, even though maybe he should have passed Lando because he had the better set of better set of tires, etc. What do you think of Red Bull? Do you think they're the fourth fastest team?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think they're fourth fastest right now. They're unfortunately fourth fastest because their chassis is not quite there. Their engine is not quite there as well. They clearly have some reliability issues with the engine. So yeah, uh, I think they're solid fourth.
Uh, okay, and that's the first one. So you think if Red Bull are the fourth fastest team, do you think Max Verstappen, with the car that he has, and as I'm speaking right now, because we don't know if what Red Bull are gonna look like for the rest of the season.
Mhm.
Do you think Max Verstappen, has a chance to fight for the titles this season, or it all depends on whether Red Bull, do better the second half season as they did last season?
It's gonna depend it's gonna depend on the definitely depend on how they do with the development and the engine. The engine, as much as people as I would love to see Red Bull actually fight, the engine is gonna be a massive problem. I don't know if I've heard rumors that Ferrari might push their new engine that was supposed to be for the 2020 seventh season to push it to this season. Uh, push it to this season. So yeah, it depends on if they bring a new engine, if they fix their reliability issues, if they bring more upgrades, etc.
Mhm. Okay. One thing. I wanted to talk about a couple of things we could before we move to China. Arve Blindblad. Oh my God, what a performance for him!
Yeah.
The start he had, the start he had was absolutely incredible. Passing, a couple of cars, especially two drivers who are world champions, Lewis and Lando, and
Mm.
he had a great performance. And not only that, what you saw what he did to Max, where he was when Max was complaining in the radio in the pit lane, brake checking. I mean, Lemblad, what a performance for him. Especially not only was he performed really well, he was aggressive. And I remember there was a battle between him and Max. And usually, a driver from, let's say, from Red Bull or Red Bull Junior team would let him through,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
he didn't do that.
yeah.
Absolutely, it's absolutely brilliant performance for him. What did you make of Lemlad's performance?
Great performance for your first time. For the first